Hey everyone, it's Susan with Sharksploitation Sunday. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subgenres of our favorite little subgenre, which would be shark hybrids. Oh yeah, those fun movies where we get to see the genetics of sharks mixed with the genetics of humans, forming SHARKMAN. Coincidentally enough, one of the movies we're going to talk about is called SHARKMAN, aka Hammerhead, and the other one is going to go in the way back machine to 1998. And we're going to talk about Peter Benchley's Creature, which was actually a made-for-television miniseries. Yeah, so we're going to get into that in just a sec. But first, I do want to remind you quickly, hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep this channel going. Thanks for all your support. All right, let's get into it. The first movie we're going to talk about that features a Sharkman is Sharkman, aka Hammerhead. And this is a fun one. This came out in 2001, and it stars Jeffrey Combs, yeah, the Reanimator. Yeah, we know him. We love him. And it also stars William Forsythe, who you might know from Halloween and The Devil's Rejects. Yeah, he was a total dick in that movie, but he's pretty good. Combs is always a campy treat, and he just seems to fit right in with doing experiments and interspecies crossbreeding on a remote island. He plays Dr. Preston King, who is complete with a Hitler mustache and German assistants. He solved the stem cell riddle and is used cancer-immune shark cells to cure his dying son. One teensy side effect, though. His son is now half man, half ferocious hammerhead shark. Oops. This movie does push the taste level just a little bit because Dr. King has drugged women in his lab that he uses in reproductive experiments to create a new version of humankind. Ew. A pharmaceutical company shows up because they catch wind of his groundbreaking research, and along with them they bring Amelia, who's the former fiance of Paul, who's the now not dying son Sharkman guy. After proudly showing off his offspring, he can't let these people escape because the cat'll be out of the bag that he's created this abomination. So he decides he's pretty much going to kill everybody, except for Amelia. He has plans in store for her. Ew. And if Dr. Preston King's minions don't kill the visitors, well, Paul certainly will. He can reside in things like puddles and little ponds. Amidst all this chaos, Amelia and her beau, Tom, played by William Forsythe, they figure out that Paul's got this weird defect when it comes to nitrogen, and that just might be a way that they could kill him. Now, I have to say this. One of the most impressive things about Sharkman, aka Hammerhead, is the profuse explosions. Oh yeah, there's a lot of explosions. Almost too many explosions. So many explosions. Eventually, Dr. King gets this guy Fetter and Amelia into his lab. Amelia, here's where it gets really ew. The creepy Dr. King gets Amelia, strips her down. He dangles her over Paul's holding tank, and he feeds this guy Fetter to Paul to get the bloodlust out of the way so that he can concentrate on the lust so he can make little babies with Amelia. Ew. Tom shows up. He comes a-calling and an ass-a-kicking, guns a-blazing, and he's going to save his woman. Paul ends up turning on his dad. Tom has conveniently found a backpack full of nitrogen and uses it to, pow, get Paul right in the kisser. And of course, Paul explodes, because everything explodes. The creature known as Paul is really fun and well done. He's kind of buff. His eyes sit a little too far apart, and he has way too many teeth. But he ain't a bad-looking dude. Truth be told, this is a pretty fun movie, and the combination of Jeffrey Combs and William Forsythe really sends it over the edge. Now, if it just wasn't for all of that weird rapey stuff, because ew. Before we get into the next movie, I do want to give an honorable mention to Tubi original that came out this year, 2022, called Shark Side of the Moon. And this one is chock-a-block with different kinds of shark hybrids, both male and female. It's kind of fun. It's kind of stupid. But if you want my full review, there is a video. You can check it out in the playlist. Okay, Peter Benchley. Yeah, that Peter Benchley that wrote Jaws. Well, he wrote other aquatic horror books too, including Beast and White Shark, and that was turned into this mini-series called Creature. This came out in 1998. Now, if you're streaming this, you have to sit through 3 hours of this movie about a shark man, but I didn't mind it at all because this is actually really fucking good, especially for 1998. So fucking good. This movie stars Craig T. Nelson, who was the dad in Poltergeist and also starred in that show Coach, and Kim Cattrall, Samantha from Sex and the City. This movie starts off in the Caribbean in 1972 in a secret military base, of course, because there's always a secret military base, and Giancarlo Esposito, he actually plays this military guy, and he's showing another military guy around. There is a kooky mad scientist, again, as is protocol, and they've created Tursiops carcarius, which is a mixture of dolphins and great white sharks, and super proud of that. But there's another thing in the back, and that gets loose, and that would be our creature, the title refers to. He is a shark man. Well, shit goes haywire, and this military guy, he's like supposed to kill him, so he traps him in a box and he takes him out to sea, and he's supposed to fuck him up and kill him, but he feels bad. We don't know why until much later, but he feels bad, and so he just kind of drops the box into the ocean. What could possibly go wrong? Jumping to the present day, Craig T. Nelson plays Stuart Chase. So he's a marine biologist. Everybody calls him Chase. And he's like a really likable guy, and he's fighting for the rights of the local white shark population and trying to keep the villagers happy at the same time. He's got an assistant named Tallman, and then his teenage son Max and his ex-wife, who's also a scientist, show up. Her name is Amanda, played by Kim Cattrall. And she's got a sea lion that's got like a critter cam attached to it named Robin. Robin is adorable, and much like any dog that you would see in a horror movie, you're not going to do anything to this sea lion, are you? Because, yeah, you don't fuck with dogs. You certainly shouldn't fuck with the dog of the sea. Chase actually now owns the military base that we saw in the beginning of the movie. It's called Sharktooth Island. Yeah, that's ominous. Max, the teenage boy, of course you cannot keep a leash on that kid. He takes off. He starts immediately kind of having a love interest in one of the local girl teenagers, and he gets like dared to jump off a cliff. And so he jumps off this cliff, but this other guy gets eaten by the creature. Oh no, it's back. Of course it's back. I mean, this is a 3-hour movie. Of course it's back. Max is completely fucking traumatized, though, and Chase cannot believe that this thing even exists, and he's trying to figure out, like, how can this thing be? He's got a tooth, and the tooth has roots in it, and so he's like, wait, white sharks don't have roots? These are like human tooth roots. And my God, he has an opposable thumb. It has to be a Sharkman. This guy, he's a crazy local guy, and he kind of like lives under like a weird boat and eats a lot of coconuts, and his name is Werewolf, but obviously he's the guy from the beginning of the movie, the military guy, and now he's still on the island just crazy as like a shithouse rat. Really cool part of the movie is Amanda and Chase, they end up going down in like the hatch, and they find these like underground tunnel, and that's where like the secret shit was going down in the 70s. And at some point, the creature, who is like a swimming great white but had weird human features and musculature, he like kind of suffocates, and you think he's gonna die, and instead he transforms, and he grew like arms and legs and feet and hands and musculature, and he's like super buff, and he turned into like total Sharkman at this point. The creature ends up attacking Max and his girlfriend and Tallman's girlfriend, and they figure out that they can use electricity to drive him off because he's kind of tuned into these like electrical pulses and stuff that they used to use to control him, so they drove him away with that. End of part 1. Remember, I told you this was 3 hours long. Streaming. This would have been 4 hours long if you watched it back in the day on TV. So now we're in part 2. And we know that Werewolf is that military guy. Everybody's caught on to that now. And it turns out that Werewolf really wants to kill this thing, but the thing is part of his DNA. So apparently they used his DNA to create this fishy man thing. So they have a plan. So they have to get the creature into this underground lab so they can put it in this decompression chamber, because Chase has figured out a way to make it go kaplooey. And Werewolf's got a little noise beacon beepy thing, and he knows that that's going to be able to lure the creature where he wants it to go. So of course they use the sea lion Robin to lure the thing into the lab. I mean, we talked about this before, guys. You don't fuck with dogs, and you certainly shouldn't fuck with a sea lion. But they do, and the sea lion gets killed. I know, guys, it pisses me off. Maybe in 1998 they didn't get the memo that you're not supposed to do that, but whatever. R.I.P. Robin. But they do get the creature in this decompression chamber. Werewolf sacrifices himself to be eaten because it was his fault in the first place, and he has to keep him in this chamber so that we can have an explosive decompression bloodbath at the end. Now, I mean, I mentioned that this movie is pretty fucking long because it was like a 2-part miniseries, but I have to say, there is enough going on to keep you really interested, and the creature itself is fantastic. This was done by Stan Winston Studios, so it's really well done. And I have to say, it stands up and is almost better than most of the fucking shark special effects that I see now. And this was, what, 24 years ago. Yeah, and these practical effects were 24 years ago. So this is worth going into all these years later. So there you have it, kids. 2 of my favorite movies that explore the idea of Sharkmen. Make sure to check these out, and if you're interested in purchasing my book, Encyclopedia Sharksploitanica, as always, you can purchase it through the links in the description box below. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!